Welcome to Life It with DVD. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. Should adjust this a little bit. Um, Today I am continuing my theme or my series on thoughts, and today wanted to talk about do you turn your thoughts on yourself? And this is elaborating on what I had discussed yesterday with not overthinking it. And I kind of went into discussing how when we experience the outside world and, you know, we're affected by, the people around us, um, you know, spouses, caretakers, parents, bosses, authorities, all sorts of people that are telling us what to do. Um, if that's not something that we agree with or we resonate with, right, that can be the source of some negative programming, right, of some sort of trauma potentially. And when this happens, um, we need to be aware that whatever we don't like about that situation and whatever we find, that person being critical of us um, and that narrative or that story, right? We need to be very careful that we don't turn that narrative on ourselves and beat ourselves down because that person thought a certain thing about us, right? And this can be all sorts of situations. And maybe a simple example is, I had just experienced this yesterday, really, where typically I don't share a whole lot of things in group situations, because I notice that people, when you interact with them individually, they behave so much differently than in groups. And additionally, of course, when you interact with people digitally or virtually, online, whatever, they also act just so much differently than when you're interacting with them in person. And what I find is that when people they feel anonymous, or they feel that they're in a group situation and their group has their back, I find that they tend to be more critical of what people are saying and doing that might be on the outside, like have a more challenging perspective or point of view. They just might be or seem more judgmental of that person. And I can't tell you how often this happens to me, where I'm just coming in. I'm just like, oh yeah, these guys would connect with this, or you know it's just like an idea that, like, oh yeah, I think they would appreciate. And for whatever reason, when I share it, it gets a lot of mixed responses. For the people that know me, they find it funny. But for the other people that I know that they should like it, but they don't, for whatever reason, they just, like, people they have just a very funny response to things that I know that, like, they should like. um, and for whatever reason, the way they're seeing it as coming from me is it's like they're judging it. They're, like, being judgmental of it in a way where it's like this is not how, like, this should have gone. And oh my gosh, this happens so often, and I don't know why. And it's like, that's why if you meet people in person and are able to interact with them, experience all of the non-verbal body language and cues and the intonation, right? You're gonna have a much better response to that person online or digitally than you would if you didn't know them at all. And for whatever reason, I, I just share things, and people they just go off on things that, like, it's like, did you not realize this was a parody or this is satire? I mean, it's very clear. And you know it's just funny because there's just a lot of like mixed reviews on things of things I share sometimes, which brings me back to, you know somebody doesn't like something, right? They're judging it in a negative way, and it's just like, this is not what I like. I don't know how you're interpreting this. That's not up to me. I don't know what you're thinking about this, why you're having a negative emotional reaction to this. But ultimately, there's something in that, right? There's something in the judgment of it that is something that the person that's judging it doesn't either like about themselves or the situation, or something that is going on in that interaction. And what I suspect is that, one, they don't know me. So because they don't know me, or people don't know me, it's very easy to be more critical and judgmental of an outsider. Um, but the way this, when you turn this inward on your thoughts, right? If you accept their judgment as if what you had shared is a reflection of you, and I used to do this like a lot, um, you know, it's going to be very detrimental for your attitude, your behaviors, your self esteem, and you can really get stuck in those thoughts, because you're taking them and you're taking the judgments of others and you're identifying with them and then making them your own. Like, I'm a bad person because this person disagrees with my opinion, or doesn't see this as satire, or doesn't want to face this truth that their, you know, actions or thoughts or behaviors are alluding to, but they don't want to recognize that within themselves. And being aware of these, having this awareness, right? Just being able to have, executive function, and being able to see and be aware of what's going on around us can certainly have its benefits, but its drawbacks if we're using that awareness and that judgment on ourselves and turning it internally. So, this is just, it's, to have this awareness is so important for your own, self-reflection, and introspection on, things that have happened in the past, and evaluating them and determining, hey, what feels good, what doesn't, what direction do I feel like I need to go. But I wanted to highlight that, if you're experiencing thoughts or judgments or programming from people that, um, you know, aren't really on, in a healthy state of mind as well, and that can be hard to know. But I heard somebody point this out, and I think I pointed this out in another video before. Actually, well, that's a different one. But never take judgment from people that you, don't. I don't know. Was it don't respect, or it's not even about respect, but oh, take it was, I think, more along the lines of never take advice from people that aren't in line with your goals. And and I think that is a massive thing, right? If you're trying to be a certain type of person, and the person you're interacting with, or judging you, or making assumptions about you, is wildly off on what your intention was for whatever the interaction was, um, throw it away, right? Throw it away, forget about it. And if you struggle with doing that, if you struggle with throwing away the judgments and those, like, you have like a people pleaser kind of mindset, and it's hard to let go of those judgments, then pretend like you're the person that wouldn't care. And this can get into like a self-parenting thing, right? Where it's like you need to be secure within yourself, and basically tell yourself not to give an F about what that other person thinks in this situation, because they didn't understand it, right? And that's not up to you. You can't make other people understand things all the time, right? Sometimes you can explain things to people, but and this works a lot better in person, where you can challenge a person's thought politely without coming off as confrontational. But I mean, digitally, usually it's just not worth the effort. It's not worth the conversation, because whatever they're assuming can be skewed by a multitude of different reasons, whether that just be that they feel safer being an internet troll, totally misunderstanding what you're saying because there's just a lack of words, a lot of like a lack of nonverbal communication or intonation there. That they feel safer in like the group of the digital situation, right? So this just gets down into like nuances of communication, and how you then interpret what is going on with that communication, and the judgments that you're making on yourself based on what's happening and what other people are experiencing. And the important thing in this is acknowledging the difference, being aware that you know other people's judgments on things or opinions of your actions or thoughts or what you're sharing, they don't matter, right? You can share things out of a good intention and people don't have to get them, and like you still shared it, right? And that's the important thing, right? People are not always going to appreciate your work, and that's and most people don't care a lot about what's going on. They just move on with their day. There's things that like I'm aware of sometimes that like I remember, and then I think that other people remember, and people have no idea, right? Just completely outside of their awareness, to where I'm putting way more weight on people's responses to thing and actions, right? And this is just how I'm hardwired, right? This is my personality, INFJ. I'll probably get more into talking about that sort of thing in more videos, but I understand people. Like, it's very easy to get into other people's shoes and understand where they're coming from. But I have to be very careful not to turn it on myself. And, you know, ultimately, this is about, not being overcritical of yourself based on the stories and the programming and the responses that you've received from the external world, right? You got to challenge these thoughts, these addicting thoughts, these ruminating thoughts, that chatter, and focus on what you can control. Focus on the solutions, and if that's a hard thing to do, then pretend you're somebody else. Ask yourself, what do I wish that my response was, and tap into that. If it's like an alter, person, within yourself, or the rebellious person yourself that says, "I do not care," right? Tap into that person and say, "Hey, I need you right here," and not the person that's questioning, this negative narrative or whatever. Um, and of course, you can talk to other people that understand you better about this sort of thing. But ultimately, treat it as, a growth mindset. Like, this person doesn't have to understand where I'm coming from for us to have a relationship in the first place. But, at the same time, there can be, a feeling out period for people to figure out, right? Um, it's sometimes hard for, and I think this is just an INFJ thing, that it's hard for people to figure INFJs out. They don't know where they're coming from. They don't understand how they know what they know. They don't understand the thought process. And, oftentimes they're on the outside looking in. So when they are coming with something, right, other people just see it in a totally different way that they just don't understand it yet. And it's really that simple. So don't internalize those thoughts. Don't internalize those judgments from others. Um, Let them go, right? Realize that tomorrow's going to come, and you will forget that thought. You will forget that, that thing that happened to you. Even traumatic events, right? Things heal in time. Um, you have to let these things heal, and if you experience like a lot of emotion and a lot of intensity around some of these things, these judgments of other people, and then you did internalize that narrative, right? It's going to take some time and some feeling into to be able to let go of these things. Um, and I just think this is so important to be aware of, in terms of people that do understand others and how they function, but also like feel these things deeply. Um, so just be careful. Just be careful with your thoughts and how you're processing them, and being aware of what's going on. So if you found this video interesting, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you turn your thoughts in on yourself sometimes and what you do about it. Do you need help with it? I'd be happy to help. Um, I know, I'm trained in Myers-Briggs personality profiling as well as human design. So yeah, if that's something you'd be interested in, and let me know as well, hearing more about. But for now, like and subscribe would be great. And until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye.